Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another Watch Soup Sunday. I am your co host, Bobby Legs, and I'm here with my friend and co host, Clayton from the Watchdog podcast. Clayton, how are you, man? What's going
Uh,
on?
I'm doing well. Had a great weekend. Yeah, pretty low key. Well, actually, yesterday was productive. Today was pretty low key. The Detroit Lions played the New Orleans Saints today.
Yeah.
My friend here is a lifelong huge Saints fan, so he came over. I cooked and we had a nice afternoon and
And
it came
and
out
they
in my
won.
favor. So yeah, right,
And
right.
the Lions won.
The Lions
you
won.
know?
But yeah, it was good to hang out with him and trash talk each other a little bit because
Yeah.
the Saints made it close there at the end. So, but yeah, it was fun. So good weekend. How are you doing?
Good. Crazy weekend here in the Legs household. We got our Christmas tree on Friday, a week or two earlier than we normally do, but we're kind of well, not kind of. We're hosting a holiday party in a few weeks, so we need to get things up and going. So we go to this like 100-acre farm near us, and it's a lot of walking trying to find the right tree. And but luckily, I mean, we had some bad weather the day before, so it wasn't as muddy as I thought it was going to be. And luckily, Mrs. Legs picked the tree very quickly in our adventure. So, and then we, went to some tea party today, like a little 16-year-old tea party. Well, yeah, it was great. It was great. I mean, like, it was at a bed and breakfast kind of place. Anyway, it was for a family member. But great weekend. Man, my Commanders are terrible,
Oh yeah,
and
that was
they've
ugly.
given up. They've given up on the season. So,
Yeah,
but what are you
Dolphins
gonna
are a juggernaut.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They are. And Mrs. Legs was fired up for Michigan winning
Yeah,
last night,
yep,
and I'm sure you are as well.
yep,
And but her Eagles, I think, got beat up pretty badly today. So
yeah, yeah. Crazy football weekend. Yeah, if you love football, college or pro, it's a fun time. I'm into fantasy football.
yeah,
I'm in 2 leagues. I'm out in one and hanging on, for dear life in the other, but, it's one of those scenarios where I'm the highest scoring team, yet, like 5 and 7, because
yeah, yeah.
also,
Everybody has their
like
best week against you, right? Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right, 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 right. So, if I win, I'm winning. I'm going to win this week, and if I win next week, no
yeah.
matter what, I think I control my own
Yeah.
destiny. So if I win, I'm in. So
When I used to do fantasy football, there were times when I had a winning record or 500 record, but had the lowest points.
yes,
So like everybody had their worst week when they played me, and that happened a couple seasons, but that never really does well in the playoffs. Like yeah,
right,
I pretty much when if I got into the playoffs was out like that week,
yeah.
that first week. So um, yeah, yeah,
I'm
fantasy
I'm the
football.
defending champ in this league, so I'm hoping I can get it because we actually get a physical trophy and we get
Yeah,
to keep it for a
nice,
year. So I
nice.
want to keep it for one more year anyway. So
Yeah. Well, we have a watch channel here.
yes.
What watch are you wearing this evening?
Oh, mine's easy. Still,
Oh, still. What's that?
still, yep.
7 weeks? 8 weeks?
9, about 9.
Nice.
I did wear my Vogard World Timer for a bit this weekend,
Yeah.
but this dominates.
Yeah, that's great, man. I
Yeah.
love it when you find a watch that does that because that's happened to me before, where it's just like I obsessively wear for a while because that's all I could think about, and then I think to myself, and I don't know if this has happened to you. It's like, oh, can I get rid of? Can not like buy any more watches? I mean, am I done? Have I found Nirvana? And that
Well,
usually,
I don't, I am feeling that way, but I'm not fooling myself like it's forever or
yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the longer the better because it is nice,
yeah.
to just, save money and not really wanna wear anything else, but yeah, I'd be lying to myself and everyone around me if I said this is, I could it be like my signature watch and I wear other watches around it? I think that's possible.
I
That
like
doesn't
that.
mean I'll ever never buy, another watch or anything, but I think it could be like the watch that everything sort of else kinda centers around, a
Signature.
daily, if you will.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Hey, I'm wearing the 144 on. I put it on the Numbuk, Numbuk,
Numbuck.
Numbuk strap. Um, Yeah, yeah. I think it fits this one pretty
Yeah,
well.
looks great. Great pairing.
Yeah, loving my chrono watches. I have 4 or 5 of them now. Yeah, just in a big chrono face. Anyway, let's say hello to everyone, and then we'll
Chrono cul-de-sac, if you will.
chrono. Okay, leading into something that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Hey, Kelly O'Neill is here. What's going on, Kelly? Thank you very much for letting me win a watch in the previous. Yeah, those watches I have. I'm backed up with the giveaway watches. I'm sending them out tomorrow. I promise. Tomorrow or Tuesday. Tomorrow or Tuesday. I can't. It's just hard to get to the post office. Maison is here. What's going on, Maison? Um, let's pick a watch to wear. Let's go with the Moser Heritage. That's a great watch, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
good choice.
James is here. How you doing, James? Bill K. What's going on? Nate Dog. Caliber is here. Mr. Scatterbrain. Hey, there's Wilson. Good to see you. Steve Time Bill. Time Hill is here. Hey, Wayman. Good to see you as well. Kensier is checking in from Pittsburgh.
Had some weather
Uh,
there today, I saw.
oh yeah, yeah. Was it snowing? I missed.
That game got delayed, like,
Ah,
3 times.
oh wow.
I think it was rain, maybe it must have been lightning or thunder if it got delayed.
Oh wow. Yikes. Hey, Bruno is here. What's going on, Bruno? Good to see you. Scott, hey, these Rams are coming back.
Yeah,
Nice.
yep.
Um, let's see here. Mr. Big Wrist is here wearing a G-Shock. It's a G-Shock kind of day for him. Um, Bruno, wait, whoa, I'm done buying watches. I have enough. Seriously. I don't believe this guy. Mr. Timehill's wearing the date just. Hey, Joy B, how you doing? James is still wearing his Bellmatic, but I'm due for a switch soon. All right. All right. That's good. That's good. And I think we caught up. Hey, Kevin S is here. How you doing? All right.
Nice to
Let's
see
get.
everybody back after last week when we had a very quiet chat with coming off of
Oh,
the holiday
oh
weekend and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, so, yeah, it's good to see, all the faces and, names back.
Absolutely, and we look forward to some chatter today with some of the topics that we've got going on this evening. And yeah, yeah. So no Sanjay. Sanjay hopefully will be joining back with us consistently in a few weeks, maybe into next year. Wait until next year. The holidays at work is a lot, and the kids and whatnot. So hopefully we can get him back. And but for now, just me and Clayton, and once in a while we'll get a co-host coming in and joining us. Last week we had Sam. All right, hey, let's get started. Right, let's
Let's
get some
do it.
soup. I had 3 little bowls of soup today at the tea thing, by the way, like the small like teacup. They put the bowls of soup. It was good, great soup, tomato and sausage.
Ah.
Tomato soup with sausage. It was so good. So beef barley, excellent. Okay, anyway, I'm getting hungry again. All right. Hey, first video. Let's talk about the Teddy Baldassarre came out with a video this week. Watches that have dropped the most in value on the secondary market. And look, Teddy is great. He's an icon, right? In the watch content business. He's got his own online store where he just picked up Grand Seiko, I think.
Yeah, very good.
Karen Grand Seiko, yeah, and he does all these videos with Kevin O'Leary and Mitch Schwartz. I think he did a video, right? The former football player with the Kansas City
Producer Michael he's had
producer.
on.
Yeah, producer
Yeah.
Mike. So he's quite the celebrity, kind of like stepping out of the watch world, right? Anyway, so like when he puts up a video like this, especially with a topic that has caught my interest a lot in the last few months, I'm gonna see what he's got going on. And so and I think that this is a good kind of like um reference for us now. I mean, I know things can change with pricing and whatnot and trends rather quickly, but I found this very, very helpful. I don't think I learned anything new except for some of the numbers he was using. Let's just dive into that. So he was talking about um, he was trying to track and using watch charts as a tool. I don't know if you've used watch charts,
Mhm.
but it's an interesting tool, right? They you can put up your collection there, right, and then they'll like price your collection according to trends and what things are sold. And I try to do a little digging in on like how they're coming up with those numbers. Sorry, before we jump into this video, and they use an aggregate system where they for sale too. They pull in from different for sale sites, right? Like Watch You Seek and whatnot, and they pull in like the pricing that people are asking what they have sold if it's available, right? So they only track like really kind of like online stuff here. So there's they acknowledge in their methodologies that they're not going to. I mean, there's a lot of private sales going on from people back and forth, right? And a lot of like sales from dealers that may not be able to register. So it's a nice tool to have, although you got to keep that in mind, right? And so he um he broke down like the top 10 watches where you were seeing the biggest drops, the brands where you're seeing the biggest drops, right? And I'm going to highlight like the top five here. Number one was AP, the total AP watches of using watch charts, -9% in the last 6 to 12 months. He also uses, right, 6 to 12 months. uh, GP being there, negative 0.2%. Patek at negative 7.9%. Its pricing has dropped. Rolex negative 7.8 drop in tax, and 7.8% drop in pricing, and Vacheron Constantin at a 7% drop. And finishing out the top 10 was Moser, Tudor, Grand Seiko, Omega, and Hublot. And again, he did a really good job explaining, and he goes into detail with some of the models in these brands that, watch pricing has gone nuts over the last couple of years, right? And so some of the prices that are brands that are coming down in price are coming down from highs, not necessarily from MSRP, right? It's coming down from highs. So when he uses Rolex as an example, right? He says that top five Rolexes that have lost the most money for them are Daytonas, and you're thinking to yourself, "Whoa, Daytonas! That's crazy. Daytonas. I mean, like they're so hard to get." But coming from their top, right? So
Right.
like
All
for
above
the
retail still,
yeah,
pretty
all
much.
above retails, and in some cases they're still double retail, right?
Yeah.
But they've come down in price, and I think there was a sea dweller involved in there.
Yes.
He highlighted a Royal Oak offshore. I think it was all gold, that it's down 30%. Some Pateks that were down in price, and the overseas. The Vacheron Constantin overseas also reaching peaks of $50,000 with a blue dial, and that has been coming down as well. So just keep in mind that these are coming from peaks. And so, some of the takeaways that I got from this, and you can watch the video. The link is there. He gives more detail. I'm not going to go into detail with all the watches that he's talking about. But some of the takeaways that I took are that, okay, we've known that that some of these watches, maybe a lot of them, have been pricing has been going nuts, right? And that now that pricing is softening up, and I think it's you got a lot of like people concerned about the economy, maybe not spending as much as they should now. Maybe there's some burnout with that, and pricing is coming down, and it's coming down to what it's not that the market is like, imploding. It's that they're just coming back down to reality, what it was like a
Right.
couple years ago, especially before COVID, right? So this is just my take. I don't. This is not necessarily what Teddy said in his video or not. And the Rolex one is interesting because, as Teddy said, this people judge the health of the market by the Rolex pricing. Um, Pricing coming down on Rolex, but it's because they're coming down off from all-time highs. So pricing, especially for some of these hype pieces, is still higher than MSRP. It's just coming back down to earth.
Right.
Yeah, I've talked a lot here. Clayton, what did you get out of this video? What was your take?
Yeah, and I think Justin said it, and that was going to be my point too. Precious. A lot of those watches he highlighted were precious metal. I think all
Hmm.
the Daytonas, or like three of the four Daytonas he highlighted, were precious metal. Yeah, there were no real shockers. And then he went into some other watches too, like even the Snoopy, which
Hmm.
is really hard to get. And I again, it's still going above retail, but that's even come down like 15%.
Yeah.
No brands are really immune. I mean, gosh, case in point, he mentioned Moser. I think did he have what Moser like 6 on that list out
Yep.
of
Yeah.
10?
M6. Yep.
I briefly flirted with selling my Endeavor center seconds. That's a white gold, so precious metal. And so I got that one for quite a bit under retail
Hmm.
pre-owned. It's going for even less than that. Like I reached out to a couple dealers to see what they would give me, and about 30% less than what I paid. They were offering me, and I just decided like, I don't need the money. It's just like one of those things where yeah, it would be nice,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I love the watch enough to like I don't know. If I ever do sell it, I'm gonna wait a while or sell
Yeah.
it privately. But yeah, I mean that's just the reality. Again white. That's a white gold watch.
Hmm.
These precious metal watches. A lot some I think some precious metal Rolexes even maybe like hovering right around retail.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, no brand is immune. Prices are crazy high. That's the what the when we talked about that the list that came out in the spring about the high, the volumes
Hmm.
and the what the profit and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Volumes are down and but profits are sky high because they're
Yeah.
charging an arm and a leg for these things. So yeah, watch charts I do follow. They have a YouTube channel, and I've often thought about
Hmm.
bringing one of them to watch soup, except it's really dry.
Yeah.
Teddy presented it much better than they do, I think.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's not bad, but it's very, like, dry.
Hmm.
It's not really something you have to watch, you can listen to, and even then you kinda zone out. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good time to buy some of these watches. I mean, I'm not necessarily in the market for a watch at all, but some of these prices I see, like, oh,
Yeah.
like if it's a buyer's market right now, Delray has his pricing is like curious. Some watches he's super high on, but others,
Yeah.
like certain brands, like sometimes he has Grand Seiko on there for a great price, and
Yeah.
he'll have some Cartier on there for a great
Hmm.
price. So yeah, I mean, if you are able to take advantage of this market as a buyer right now, it's a tough time to sell. Like we know some people who are just dipping their toes into selling their watches, and probably not a great time to do that
Yeah.
just because yeah, you're not going to get what you could 6 months ago even. So, but
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
yeah, it'll just normalize. I mean, I got into watches early in 2019
yeah.
when everything was still kind of normal, and I didn't start getting into luxury watches until COVID really. Bought my first one right before COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that world was like buy selling, especially. I didn't sell a luxury watch until well into COVID when it was a gravy train,
Yeah.
and I
Absolutely.
did very well. So yeah, I don't know what this, post COVID or getting back to pre COVID is like.
Yeah, it almost like it's been a while, right? It's been like 3 or 4 years. It feels like, right? So I
Yeah,
mean, it's probably not, hasn't been that long, but it feels like a long time, right?
yeah,
Kevin has saying many precious metal Rolex, as you noted with the Daytona's precious metal, are going at or below retail. Not the Daytona's, but other Rolex.
yes,
But but even like the Pepsis and the Batmans, the Pepsis were like 25,000 dollars at one point. I mean, I think they've definitely come down off of that, and so has the Batmans in regards to the GMT.
didn't they go
Um,
for even more than that? Were they in like the
they,
40s for a while?
well, no,
Was
I
it
don't.
that crazy?
I don't know if it was ever that crazy, but it
Or
could
maybe
have
the
been.
white gold one. Isn't there a white gold one? That
Yeah,
might have
yeah,
been.
that
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah, it
Um,
still is probably.
but even some of these like and the thing is, like, those are still kind of hard to get, and until like they don't become hard to get anymore, then we're going to see prices on that, on the on the metal stainless steel sports models for Rolex are going to stay high. But like the constant the VC overseas, that blue dial. I mean, that like, talk about like the tide rising, all like, with the integrated
Yeah.
sports, the Nautilus and the AP, the Royal Oak. It brought up the Laureato. The Laureato got
Laureato
like,
was above. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little hype. That was also a little TPG hype too with it. That was had affected the pricing on that one. And I think that's what we saw, like a lot of inflated prices on it about a year and a half ago. But anything integrated sports bracelet, became like really popular and sought after. Geez, that VC, like the blue dial, man, that was a hot watch to get, and I'm sure it's probably still difficult now, but it's nowhere near what it was, before. Let's see
The other
what.
thing Teddy didn't
Yeah.
oh, sorry,
No, no,
the
go,
the
no,
other
please. Yeah.
the other thing he didn't mention is, how maybe this won't have an effect because maybe only we know about this or care about this, but the TPG, scandal
Mhm.
and maybe, like, some ramifications with some other, gray market dealers who, maybe are above or who are not doing anything illegal at all, but maybe were associated with him. Like, how does that affect things? Like, will people be a little leery to go through those channels, through those dealers, just because of what happened with TPG? Not to say they're doing anything
Yeah.
nefarious at all, like he was, but does that like panic? It makes me think twice. Going through certain guys.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like, I'm not into those, like, those hype pieces, right, as much,
yeah,
or in that, ballpark, or, financially to afford any of those, and I think that's what pretty much, I feel like that's what the deal anyway, I mean, that's what the videos are on. I'm sure they sell
right.
other watches
They
too.
sell a lot of stuff,
Yeah, they
yeah.
sell a lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, there is definitely on my part some hesitation. Um, but something like, if I'm gonna buy like a Zen, off a dealer, I mean, like,
Yeah.
nobody's
Low risk.
low risk on that one. I think you just have to
Yeah.
pick and choose and be careful which watches you're gonna do that. Hey, let's catch up with the chat, Mr. Casco. It's like people once said stainless steel sports Rolex is where to keep your money safe, or Journe if you had 500K to hide and move. Maison saying, I've been monitoring a couple of UK Moser Pioneer Met Swiss Reds on Chrono 24. Sellers not following the rest of the world. Cheaper to buy is at retail at the current exchange rate. Bit of an oddity. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
Kevin S is saying many collectors have never experienced a down market. It's an eye opener for sure. Measure twice, cut once. Pepsi was close to a 30K at one point. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
thanks for verifying that. But it's not near there now, right? And I think we're seeing that drop, and maybe it keeps going down a little bit more. But I mean,
Even on
that's
the
always good.
low end, like, there's a YouTuber I saw who, posted some sales for Watch Friday. It's not who we think. It's
Hmm.
somebody else. But he had a Citizen listed,
Hmm.
and like he bought it for video and he was selling it so pre-owned, even if he didn't really wear it out. But he was asking, like, people just aren't paying attention to the
Oh,
market prices. You could buy it for cheaper on Citizen's website the day he released the video
yeah,
than what he had it for. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
just do your research. I
yeah.
didn't say a comment or
Of
anything,
course.
but it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
do your research. Like, no one's going to buy that watch. I can go to Citizen. I think you could get it for like $60 or $70 less on Citizen's website, brand new than he was offering it for. So yeah,
sure,
like
yeah.
to that point, they're just
Yep.
these sellers just aren't looking at the current market trends and what these watches are going for.
I think there was a point where buyers weren't even like, shopping around as much. Now people are shopping around, man. Now
Yep.
buyers are getting savvy. They're looking for the deal. They know they have the sellers, most sellers on the ropes, right?
Yeah.
And
They have the
so
leverage.
they have the leverage, for sure. Like I know when I was selling some Seikos, man, it took a long time for me to get rid of those watches in the last, like, I think it's like 6 months ago even,
Yeah.
right? And I was lowering the price, and these watches were great in perfect condition, and that's why you have to like really buy low now, or not buy low, buy smart. At least, you want
Yeah.
to buy low, but buy smart in this environment. Go pre-owned for sure, and just get something that's in really good condition. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Uh, just in our things are getting back to normal. Selling watches comes with an expectation of getting kicked in the nuts. Man, that's good. Let's see here. Um, oh, somebody had a okay. Kevin S. Blue Dial VC can be had at retail pricing now. That's crazy.
Wow.
Um, Handheart is hype. Okay. Hey, Dib, exiting the hobby. Just exit the hobby. All right.
I remember
Okay.
the days when, like, Bruce Williams got his VC and did that whole video on it, and then, yeah, they were, like, super hard to get and trading well above
Mm,
retail back then,
yeah.
and, yeah, crazy.
Hey, Kevin, we didn't call the Sleepies are crashing. We didn't say that. That's what Teddy was saying. Teddy was I think Kevin's busting somebody's chops on the chat as he does. Just buy what you want and keep it, not the idea of selling. Yeah, and that's the whole trick, right? I mean, if you're buying what you want and you're keeping it, the trends, pricing trends don't really matter.
I think a lot of people I know in the hobby have been in it around the same amount of time. I haven't. We're all sort of in that. I just sold like a couple that I never wear, but I've owned those for a while.
Mhm.
So like now it's just like more careful buying and less buying. Like yeah, I'm a couple months from my last purchase and I don't intend to buy anything for
Mm,
the in the near future. So
yeah,
I think a lot of us are sort of in that
I think so.
buy smarter and just
Mhm.
wear what we love, and then when you do buy a watch, you don't have to sell a bunch to you can actually save for it, like, what a concept.
Yeah. Steve saying VC stop taking orders on the overseas.
Hmm,
That's interesting. Okay. Um, Joey, smart buyers are buying Long Island Watch. Uh,
okay.
buy
Well,
less, buy better. Great slogan. Good. That's good advice from Kevin there. And on that note, let's move on to the next topic. And we just should have a weekly segment, like just called the Jeffrey McMahon segment. Anyway, he's been on a tear. It's insane that we haven't done more of his videos because I feel like he's been on a tear anyway.
yeah.
Anyway, living in a watch cul-de-sac. Clayton, take it away.
Yeah, I feel like he's just been begging us to, you know, cover one of his videos, like, he's asking for it by just releasing them. Yeah, he's on a real tear. He said, he shouldn't be making this video, shouldn't be
Yeah.
making a video about his childhood. Recently, he stumbled on a real estate website, Zillow
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and he looked up his old childhood home. I believe he said it was in San Jose.
Yeah.
Um, what was it? Venat I couldn't understand quite what he was saying. Venado Court, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, so he saw, went and it's for sale. So he went and looked at pictures. He saw his old bedroom, his old toilet, the old tub he used to play with Sesame Street toys in. Boy, it was memory lane. Took a stroll down lane. The memories came pouring out of his mom canning fruits and making pies. He saw the tub where he played with his Sesame Street puppets and toys. It was in a cul-de-sac. We all know what a cul-de-sac
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
basically like a kind of a dead end in a
Yeah.
nice residential neighborhood. He called it a court. He loved living in a court. It was private, exclusive, away from traffic. The house is worth $1.3 million. It just so happens the house he lives in California. Housing prices are
Insane, right?
bananas, yeah. So, the house he currently lives is also $1.3 million. So he had this crazy thought, like, why don't we just sell the house we're living in, and I could go back and buy my old childhood home in San Jose. But that would be a horror show. He said, living there would be mundane and jejune. I like the use of that
Yeah.
word, jejune. It wouldn't be the same, right? You couldn't go back and recreate your idyllic childhood as a 62-year-old man. He said a quote, "You can never go home again," and that's
Mm,
true in many ways. That things
yeah.
are different, people are
Yeah.
different, things are different, neighborhoods different. He said he could never go back to Venado Court, but he can go back to the Venado Court of his watch hobby, right? Thankfully. So he said, what's a cul-de-sac? It's hyphenated, it's French. It has to do with the human anatomy. A sac is closed on one end, right? It's a passage that leads to nowhere. And that describes his watch hobby, right? A passage that leads to nowhere. On one hand, it sounds negative, like a dead end, a trap, a state of stagnation. But on the other hand, it could be a positive thing, like a preferred final destination, boundaries. And he said, his watch hobby, he's in a state of perpetual madness when he's into watches. So he is definitely in need of boundaries. As we all know, Seiko divers are his watch Cul-De-Sac.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was listening to a podcast by Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom. I've never heard of the podcast. Jordan Peterson was on there, and he said when parents don't give children boundaries, they're terrifying their children. Children, they're lost in the desert. They
Yeah.
need boundaries for comfort. I think that's true a little bit. I don't have children, but I can
No,
only
no, they definitely need boundaries. They
yeah,
definitely need
yeah.
boundaries.
It's not like a good thing to run amok. Like,
No, no, no.
yeah, like yeah. I won't go any further than that. But he didn't plan on having 7 retro inspired Seiko divers on tropic straps, but that's where he is. And it was all inspired by random Rob meet and greet
Mhm.
meet at Mimo's in the summer of 2022. He met Mark from Average Bros. I think we've covered one of his videos
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
He was wearing the slim turtle. I think of that as like the slim Willard, actually. I think it looks more like a Willard, but slim turtle on a tropic. Jeff, it blew his mind because he was always a bracelet guy. So he's not looked back. He's put all his watches on tropics ever since. He's in a retro state of mind. He saw a
mhm,
Leica camera, $10,000 Hodinkee
yeah,
special camera. He loved that too. So he's been on a real retro kick. He's tried on a lot of watches since 2005, but he likes divers. Divers are his watch cul-de-sac, his
yeah,
boundary. That's where he feels
yeah.
safe. So how about you, Bobby? What's your German watches? You're right back in your German watch cul-de-sac.
I guess it's as close to a, mental watch collecting cul-de-sac as I can get, and it's with, German watches. I get the tropic strap kind of like reference, figurative, reference. But I mean, but also, I mean, like I've been finding putting rubber straps on my divers and other watches as very calming. I kind of like that. Anyway, yeah, no, the German watches so far is as close. I mean, it's not a slant dunk. It's not like his version in his head. Like I'm not that fully committed to that thought or idea. I'm not there like he is with that, but it's as close to being there as I can get for sure. Yeah, I mean, just like there's things that bring me back, right? I mean, there's that bring me back to my childhood, and I always think of like warm and fond memories of back then. Like I had a couple of friends who went to a Kiss concert last night, right? It's like their final
Oh
tour,
yeah,
and
the final
I'm
one.
like, I remember having like the Kiss lunchbox, when I went to school, like in the late '70s, early '80s. You know what I mean? Like, and so that brings me to a good place. So I get that, and but you never go home, right? Because it's never as good as you remember it, right? I mean, like
Yeah,
I think our brains trick us, right? That's why we look at most memories fondly. We forget about like the not so fond moments, and
yeah,
not to say that I didn't have any fond moments growing up. I mean, I mean, like I had some things that happened, like my father passing away when I was young, But other than that, like remember like MTV and G Shocks and Swatch watches, like very very fondly, to that.
yeah.
So when it comes to watches, when I made that initial foray into German watchmaking, I really thought I found something, and then I went off the tracks, and now I'm back there. So it feels like a good place, and I'm very very happy to stay in there, at least for a while, not permanently, I'm sure, because I'm sure something's going to happen, and things will change a little bit. Hopefully I don't blow up the German watch collection like I did before. Hopefully I keep, like, a lot of good pieces. But I'm trying to be a different type of collector these days, and actually, you know, buy, less frequent, and like Kevin said, and buy with more purpose. Anyway, what about you? What is your cul-de-sac?
I think in that right now, it's definitely just having a smaller collection
Mhm.
because I do a couple things happen. I've said this before, like I'm not like I've never been a collector or had that mindset. And with watches, I did, and I
Mhm.
surprised myself. Now I'm sort of coming back to where I am in the rest of my life with everything else, where I don't really have a lot of stuff. So I think I'm finally come now that I've experienced all kinds of watches because I think that's why I went like crazy because
Yeah.
I just wanted to learn about watches and I wouldn't do it over again. Like I love how it's been with just buying and selling a bunch of watches because I've gotten to I can talk about them and I've
Mm,
experienced them, and that's if I'm going to do this or do a podcast, like that's helpful to actually have hands on with this. But now my cul-de-sac, I think, is just having a one, because I don't like to have a lot of stuff just sitting around collecting dust, especially if there's a lot of money in it. And
yeah.
two, it just bred impulse buying, because I know I could just
Mm,
see a watch and I
mhm.
could sell a. There was that comfort of, oh, I can sell like 5 watches and afford this watch, no
Yeah,
problem. So that's what I did. And now, not having that option and just having small watches, a small collection that I don't want to sell any of, slows everything down. And again, goes back to that, what I think a lot of us are going through. Buy less, like Kevin said, buy whatever he said, buy less, buy smarter,
yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'm new into the cul-de-sac, like I'm the new kid on the block, like the neighbors. I have to
Yeah,
go around and introduce myself to all the
yeah,
neighbors and like give them a pie or something, or
yeah,
canned fruit.
yeah.
But yeah, we always look at things with rose-colored glasses. Like, I listen to this podcast, Everything 80s. I'm a kid of the
Mm,
80s, so
yeah.
and like yesterday's episode was about like Mask. I don't know if you remember those toys in the 80s. They did a cartoon around it. I remember I had them.
So,
And MASK, it like stood for something. They were like, yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, it was all about that. And then the cartoon, and they did a movie, and the theme, he played the theme song. But for my family, the 80s were like that made me nostalgic. Like,
mhm,
every time I listen to that 80s podcast, I kinda, like, long to be a kid in the 80s again. But the 80s were, like, a horrible time for our family. Like, we weren't, like, we didn't have a lot of money, like, barely
yeah,
got by. My parents got divorced. Like, it wasn't really a great time. But,
yeah,
all of my memories now, are like, the cartoons I used to watch and the
yeah,
toys I had. So it is funny how, time makes everything seem like it was so rosy and perfect, but boy, it really wasn't.
yeah. Big
So,
League Chew, man. I always go
I
back to that.
still have Big League Chew.
Oh, so good,
I
so good.
love sugary bubble gum.
Man, and there was like, there was a pizzeria down, the block from me called Father and Son, man, and that I've talked about this before, I think, it was like a little, Italian guy named John and his wife, and they would always fight, and she'd be always crying, and they had, like, a little 13-inch black and white TV with, like, Italian soccer, and it was, like, the '80s. How did you get Italian soccer on American t
Yeah,
anyway,
wow, that's
that blew my
impressive.
mind. But, it was, like, 2 slices at the lunch special, 2 slices and a soda for, like, 75 cents, I think it was. Something
Yeah,
something ridiculously cheap, and it was just great pizza. Like, when I think of that, like, pizza, when I think of great pizza, I go back to that moment. Going to the arcade and playing video games. You
yep,
know what I mean? Not having I mean, I had an Atari for a month and it broke, and my parents were like, "Oh no, we're not getting you another one." I mean, that thing cost, like our 6 months salary at the, I don't know, whatever
yeah.
it was. But yeah, man, those moments were great. And like, I do feel that way when I hold a watch or some watches. I mean, it just kind of brings me back to a good spot.
I
Anyway,
remember, Book It, Pizza Hut, the Book It program. You, like, read certain books, and then you'd get, like, a free, personal pan, pizza. You had, like, the Book It, pin. It's like
oh,
this
I didn't
big,
know that.
giant purple pin, yeah,
Yeah,
and you get the stars, like, on it. I think if you got 4 stars, you get, like, a free personal pan pizza. But, yeah, that's, like, the food
nice.
thing. And then candy, yeah, just ate a
Yeah.
bunch of candy. Yeah, bubble gum and baseball cards
Oh
and all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Those are the best. Hey, oh boy, I can't stand this man, says Deb. Oh, the watch cul-de-sac. That guy? All right, Justin. Okay. Jeff McMahon is James's, animal spirit, his spirit animal. Um, uh, what? I hear Jeff McMahon is looking to buy a Snoopy real cheap. There's only
It's
so much.
crashing.
Yeah, it's crashing. There's only so much of his angst I could take. I've had enough of my own. Yeah, you kind of almost like absorb his, like, he really draws you in, right? I mean, he really makes you feel the pain. Um,
I am happy I don't really feel these things anymore. Like, I think at a certain time I did, but I'm at a way better place, like, with my hobby now. Like, it doesn't really stress me out all that much.
yeah.
But
You guys, done him more airtime than he deserves. Please critique a random Rob video and say, "How dare you, Dib? How dare you say that?"
if Rob does I don't watch his channel, but if he did topical
He did
stuff,
topic videos,
yeah, he
I
doesn't
mean,
really
like,
do it a lot.
if he's gonna do another C Stern review, I mean, like, we're not gonna
Right.
yeah, we're not gonna talk about, like, okay. Um, Jeff Man, King of Angst. Um, enough of McMahon drums. Hey, I mean, we love. Look, it's hard enough to find topic videos, right? And Jeff
I don't think he's
gives us a
BS. I think he's very honest.
yeah, yeah. He's very, but he gives us like a gift every week. He gives us a gift. Here, you guys need another video. Boom! I just released one for you guys to talk about. Sesame Street is messed up, Jeff. Oh man, I can listen to Jordan Peterson. Okay, um, let's see here. Just tuned in, AK, and I thought I was back in my philosophy class. Yeah, well, that's what. Hopefully, Watch Soup spark some philosophy talk, man. That's what we're here for.
You can never go back home.
Bobby was raised in Detroit Rock City. No, no, more Clayton than me. I mean, I just, I like Kiss, but I mean, like more Clayton's from
Oh,
the
I
Midwest neck of the
yeah, I
woods.
grew up very far away from there. Same state, but,
Same state,
yeah,
though, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually my mom and I, speaking of Kiss, when they kicked off when they put the makeup back on in '96, their first show was at old Detroit Tiger Stadium,
Yeah.
and, my mom, because I was in the Kiss Army in high school, like, I was a big, I was not into, like, the music of the, in high school, I was, like, mid-90s, and I was in the Kiss Army, but,
Nice.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Mobile Armored Strike Command, that's right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
James.
It's I believe I don't know what the K stands for. It might be, I don't know if it's spelled command that way. But anyway, yeah, we couldn't get tickets. Back then there was no internet, so we had to call,
You had to
and
call. Remember those days? Oh,
yeah, and sold out in like 15 minutes, like huge stadium. But
we'd have to go. Like I remember. So you either have to call or there was like a
you could
head
go to a
shop.
kiosk or
Y-
something. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also like a head shop that was near in a couple towns away where you can buy like bongs and stuff like that and metal shirts. The bongs are in the bags
Right,
hidden,
right.
but like you could buy like tickets to shows
Ah.
there. So um Joey B saying I had so many GI Joes.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Um oh, I had
Thundercats,
Transformers.
Voltron.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um I'm back. Just watched the new Godzilla versus King Kong trailer. Looks epic. Thoughts? Um, I haven't seen the trailer.
I have not.
I haven't. You know what I have been watching, and we'll go into our next. Um, on Apple, Monarch, and I don't know.
Mm.
It's kind of like a Godzilla. It's kind of one of those kind of
Yeah, I
like.
saw that. Yeah, I saw the preview for it. I did
Um,
go and see the Thanksgiving movie, the Eli Roth horror movie,
oh,
called Thanksgiving. Yeah, that was, I haven't been to the
okay.
theater yet this year. That was the first time, but I had to go and see that in the theater. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I heard about that one. Uh, Kevin S. I prefer Godzilla over Jeff McMahon by a wide margin. Uh, Jeff McMahon versus a hurricane. Who would win? Okay, all right. Let's stop picking on Jeff. Jeff is a great guy, and
yeah, we love Jeff.
and sometimes he watches our humble stream. Okay, moving on to the next topic, and this is from Chase over at All Things Random. Um, Another little watch channel that he does reviews and mostly watch reviews and topics, and then he does a couple other things that are not watch related. And so he put out a video, and this video is basically I like these videos as well, right? I mean, telling their story, the content creators telling their story about like mistakes they made and trying to parse some wisdom out to you. I love them because I want to hear the mistakes and I want to try to avoid them, but I still make those mistakes anyway. Let's hear what he had to say. He had roughly around 4 points, and a lot of them were kind of like overlapped a little bit, but I'm going to try to whittle it down on each one as a separate one. And so the first one was thinking that Rolex would solve everything, and this is for him, right? And he said that uh, he made a claim that hey, Rolex is a mediocre watch. They just have great brand races, and I have to disagree. Rolex is
Yeah, I
not a
disagree with
mediocre
that
watch.
too. Yeah.
They're very very well made. I think they're deserve whatever price
Yeah.
they charge at MSRP. Maybe at secondary market prices in 2022 they were maybe not worth what they were getting,
Yeah.
but anyway. And so he had mentioned that Rolex used to be a watch you would get to mark an achievement, right? And that is true, right? I mean, I remember people like when they retire or had a significant birthday, they would celebrate it with getting a Rolex, and now it's more like, people get it, because of the perception, which kind of bleeds to like point number two. But his big achievement, right, was that he was in the service and he got deployed, and he came back, and he came back alive. So he bought himself a Kermit. So that's
Yeah.
how he celebrated his Rolex. But he says other people, they think that Rolex is going to fill that hole in their life, and it doesn't, and it's really, that's not how you fill any kind of like gap in your life. And I see his point here on this one, because I think a lot of us might do it. Well, let me just say for myself, I think at some point there is some of that where I think, buying this watch is going to make me feel a certain way. I do understand what he's saying there, although um it's not the main thing. Like, like with the Rolex, with buying the Submariner for me, it was kind of like, I wanted a wrong or right. It was a watch I wanted to get to mark an occasion that wasn't a great occasion, and it turned out to be, right. But there was some closure with getting the Submariner when I bought it, and of course I since sold it, so I'm, big hypocrite. But I really enjoyed that watch, and I still think it's one of the best watches I've ever had. But I had that watch for a year and a half, 2 years, before I ended up selling it. But yeah, but I mean, I didn't feel like it filled the hole. I feel like it completed something for me, right?
Mhm.
Number two, buying a watch because you want people to get a certain perception of you. You know what I mean? Like, you want people to either think that you got a lot of money, or that you're highly, highly successful. And he said that that's a mistake. And also he kind of lumped in this Tudor Black Bay that he picked up, which fits into another one of his points. So, but he was part of some launch groups, and he was at the time when the Black Bay 50, the Tudor Black Bay came out, and everybody was hyping it up, and he ended up buying it, and just basically, kind of like just to impress people in the groups that he was in, that he also has one. And I'll go back to that watch in a second, because he kind of brings it to another point. Um, the third point, that he says, and mistake, is buying watch on credit, like credit card or store credit. Like, that's a very, very dangerous thing, right? Because you're paying interest on a watch. And he used the example of a Movado that he bought. A $2,000 Movado that he bought, and I
Ooh,
think it was a
be
store
a
credit.
mistake on its
Yeah, yeah,
own.
a mistake on its own, right? And he ended up paying, because you have it on a credit, right? And you have minimum payments, so you paid with minimum payments. He ended up paying for a $2,000 Movado 3,100 when all said and done in interest, and it was probably not worth the 2,000 that it was to begin with. It's more worth like $800. He figured, right?
Yeah.
So for him, that was a mistake. Anytime you put anything on credit like that with a purchase, it's a mistake. Although although I agree with that point, I would say, though, if you use credit cards more intelligently, like if you got a credit card and you had 0% for 21 months, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to pay it off like that, you could do that, right? I mean, I don't see any harm there, if you rather keep the cash, right?
Right.
And not just like part with the cash, but slowly pay off a watch over the course of, like, 18 months or 21 months at a 0%. Then I think that's okay. But it with the caveat that that's a very dangerous thing too, as well. I mean, like, you got to be able to have some restraint, and some um check yourself before you wreck yourself. No, no, check yourself and make sure you don't like keep on doing that, because it's very attractive proposition. If you start buying more watches and more watches, you get
Yeah, you
yourself.
buy 10 of them like
Yeah,
that at once, then,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
not so good.
Not so good. And finally, the fear of missing out. And this is where he brings his back. He says Black Bay 58, and I think
He got
when
confused with
I think he
the
got confused because he
heritage.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then he started talking about, so he got the Black Bay 58 because of the hype. I think he meant the Black Bay just regular, because of the way he was talking about it being a thick watch.
Yeah.
The Black Bay 58 is not a thick watch at all. Anyway, so he was saying that he bought the watch, right? He feared that he had FOMO, right? Um, and that, after 46 days. I mean, he was loving the watch, and day 46, he was like, I don't like this watch anymore. It's too thick. It's like I
Yeah.
can't wear this watch, you know. And his point here was that don't go rush out and get the watch because of the hype, right? They're going to be there. They'll be there. Whether you may not be able to get it today, but maybe down the road. And this way, and I think he had mentioned this. You know, might give you some time to go to an AD and check out and actually make sure the watch, you know, you
Right.
like it first or before you go buy it. So, um, I think a lot of good advice here. I think a lot of stuff here that most of us already know, but I feel like it's always good to hear because I need to remind myself constantly of these things. I have a built-in forgetter, right? So like I'll hear something, great idea, I'm gonna follow that, and then like a couple weeks or months later, I totally forget it, and then I go back to like
Yeah.
the dangerous behavior. So for me, it was a good reminder. Clayton, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if they're I don't know if you call them mistakes, but they're just things I've done that maybe I wish I wouldn't do. Like I've done the equivalent of asking for forgiveness before permission. Like I equate that to but like I did it with a Black Bay 58, the first one I bought. Bought it and like, okay, how am I going to afford this now? Sell a
Yeah,
bunch of watches. So I didn't sell the watches first and have the funds on hand. I bought the watch and then sold the watches after to like cover it. So I don't do that anymore. That is not a great feeling because you're scrambling. You're almost so desperate to do it that you'll take a little bit less even just to get some cash in hand, get something liquid to like make up. So I don't like that I did that. I do buy. We pay our credit cards off,
hmm,
so I buy everything on credit card, and
good
then they
points,
just
right?
get paid off. Yeah, you get points. I don't think I've bought. I fly to Michigan, somewhat frequently, and my mother-in-law's in South Carolina. I don't think I've actually paid cash for a plane ticket in a long time, since
Yeah,
I've been in watches, because
yeah.
I well, if I could say one thing about buying, impulse buying, it's gotten me a lot of credit card points. I guess that's a positive.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so, I hope he doesn't think the Black Bay 58 is 16 millimeters thick. I
I think he
certainly was
misspoke.
talking about the Heritage,
I mean,
yeah,
he showed a picture of it too, I think. I'm pretty sure that was a picture of
yeah,
Black 58. But yeah, but I think he just misspoke. I think
yeah.
he meant the Heritage. Yeah,
I
for
you know,
sure.
I somewhat I don't love that generalization that, like, everybody buys a Rolex. You see this a lot, like, everybody buys a Rolex to show off,
Mm,
or I think most people I know with Rolexes are just they like nice watches, and
yeah,
Rolex makes a solid watch.
yeah.
So, it's not like maybe, like, you can perceive that, maybe,
Mhm,
like, if somebody is showing, like, a nice Rolex, maybe that's just you internalizing it, thinking like,
yeah,
"Oh, what a show off," but maybe they just we're on social media and we're sending each other pictures of our watches, maybe just because we wanna show the watch because we know
yeah,
people might be interested in like people just generalize Rolex owners as like these show offs and these snobs, and I
yeah,
have not found that for the most part. Once in a while, you'll see that like on Facebook or the forums or something, but by and large, like the in my experience, and certainly for me, I don't show off anything.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think of myself that way. It's just, I like watches. I happen to like some nice watches. I can comfortably afford them to an extent, and I like people to see them because they might think
yeah.
it's cool. So,
Yeah, I think with the I mean, I think there is an element that buys Rolex because I think they want people to have a certain perception. I think, but I also think like most people who are not collectors, right?
right.
They only know of like 5 brands, right?
Yeah.
And growing up when we grew up, right, and 80s and 90s, like for me, the top 2 luxury brands were Tag and Rolex because their advertising was everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Especially in sports, like if you were into golf, I mean, Tag was a big supporter, like racing, and Rolex. Of course, everybody knew what Rolex was.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the epitome of watches, not knowing all these other brands existed, right? And so, like, I think there might still be a lot of that,
Right.
right? And so when people buy a Rolex, maybe it's an achievement, and it may be a little bit like, hey, look, I mean, you could tell I'm successful,
And who
because I've
cares? Like, it
and
is an achievement in many ways, like,
yeah,
so it's like
absolutely, and I think most and I think the rest of the world doesn't care, except for
right,
that person that
right.
buys the watch. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's yeah,
Like, I
good.
don't post watches on my personal Facebook ever. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
neither
don't
do I.
want
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyone to know that side. Like,
Yeah.
I'm posting watches where everybody else is posting
Yeah,
watches.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So, like, it's almost like, okay, like, I would, not be comfortable having, friends and family knowing, in some cases, the amount of money I've spent on watches. It's none of their business, and I don't want them to think I'm doing it for a certain reason, because that's not why I'm doing it. I
Yeah,
just choose not to share that with a lot of
yeah.
people.
Yeah, I mean, and look,
Yeah.
that's and that brings up a good point. When I sold my Rolex, there was a couple reasons, right? Um, you know, I wanted to help pay for a trip that my family and I were taking. You know, pay off some debt, or go towards some home improvements. Like stuff like I felt like as a responsible person, I should like be putting money towards as opposed to having it sit in a watch box. And I was wearing the watch and I put it on a strap because I wanted to give it a low profile, not because the thickness, low profile, just like people watch it. And so like, but I also didn't like, I kind of felt like weird going to friends or family houses with that watch on,
Mhm.
because and that's why like right now um, I mean, that watch I love that watch so much. It's a great watch. But right now I'm more comfortable wearing some more no name type brands, no name, not to you and I as the collector, or who's into this watch hobby as enthusiasts, but no name to like, the regular average citizen who's not like obsessed with watches. Like that's why I like the Zin watches, like the Omegas. Like I'm not the Omegas. I mean, I do like Omegas, but I think a lot of the public knows what an Omega is. I meant Damasco, or like some of these other German watches, even like a Seiko. Everybody knows Seiko, but nobody gets threatened by a Seiko. You know what I mean? So I feel what you're feeling with that too as well.
Yeah.
Complete opposite of showing it off and trying to get impress people. Um, uh, Dib is saying here, Rolex does solve everything, gets you prestige and other good. I don't know what these other words that he's putting there. I don't know if he means what is putting there, or I don't know. Um, that people get Rolex to celebrate a good flip. Okay. Can't place too many unrealistic expectations on a new watch. They're just
Yep.
watches. Absolutely. Agree, Kevin. Um, but James is saying buying watches definitely fills a hole in my soul, and I go into it knowing that. James. Some people clap for the pilot when the plane lands. I celebrate with a Rolex. Hey, I clap, dude. I'm not going to go into it, but I've clapped when the plane lands. Okay, Joey knows what I'm talking about. Anyway,
I
hey,
saw something oh, sorry.
yeah,
I saw a video on how, airplanes land on, aircraft carriers.
yeah,
And you
isn't that
ever see that?
amazing?
They, like, clip that wire, and if
Hmm.
they can't slow down because if they miss, they have to, like, have enough speed to, like, take
To
off
go,
and try again.
yeah, I don't
Like,
know how
that
they.
is crazy. That
That
is
is,
some precision
yeah,
crap there.
yeah, yeah. It's bananas. Maison saying I've done all the 0% credit card crap. I managed to get out of it all that debt, and I'm not going back. Save to buy only from now on. Credit card is a payment method only. Eric is saying 0% is a gamble. They're betting that you don't finish paying in the allotted time. You're
Yeah,
better. You're betting that you do, right?
yep.
Um, James says I only want Rolex because my father never got to see my buy one before he passed. I wouldn't even consider it as part of a core collection. Um, I'm an achieving watch collector. I attended my 80s Christmas party and was offered a sub. I whipped out the plastic. Well,
Yep.
congratulations, UWC. Um, Maison coming back here saying, I literally have no one to show off watches that would appreciate them, so they're just for me. So I wear
Right.
them and don't say anything. If someone notices, it's fine. If not, I don't bring them up. Mm.
Yep.
James is saying, my non-watch friends are afraid to ask about my watches. Rolex guilt stories. Kevin. Uh, I want to walk into parties shouting, "Who wants to see my time?" Oh, and Dib with the dig. Better buy that Torno again. Okay. All right. Funny guy.
So tonight I looked, I don't know if you guys saw, but Citizen has introduced a couple of the Chronomaster the Citizen models on their US website.
Oh,
Yeah, one for $4,300, a limited edition of 500 pieces. I got the text message from Citizen today. I was like, "What?" And I looked at it,
mm.
and yeah. So I
Does it
was
have the
like,
chicken? Does it have
"Yeah,
the?
it does." Yep.
Ooh, wait a second. Can we
They have
pull it up?
2, chicken models on their US website right now. But
Hold the
anyway,
phone.
I was like, "I can't really do a $4,300 watch right now," but then they offer I was like, "Oh, the payment plan." So if you did a 6-month for all of them, the APR is 19.99%.
Uh-huh.
So crazy. Like, so the for 6
Yes.
months, it would be you end up paying like 46 almost 4,600 for the watch. That's 4,300 with the interest. So over a 6-month time period, if you wanted to do like $760 per month. And because I was like, but then I was like, I can't do that. I would feel so terrible doing that. Like that is ridiculous.
I feel betrayed by citizens. I didn't get that. I don't think I got that email, man.
Yeah,
What a
I get
gift.
their text messages. I get the Boulevard, I get the Citizen, the Citizen group has me. So like much like Cassio's endless
Mm.
text messages.
Oh yeah, yeah, I get those too. Well, I'm gonna look. Maybe I accidentally. No, Citizen, the luxury gift finder is here. Nothing about the chicken though. Oh,
I'll send you the link.
please, or don't. Actually, don't.
Well,
Anyway.
it's a beautiful watch.
Oh
It's
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's gorgeous. So like a white or I don't know, like a silver, but in that like with that textured pattern.
Yeah. That washi
Yeah,
paper. It's
yeah, yeah, it's
beautiful.
gorgeous. But yeah, I was briefly thinking like, could I make this work? And then I just for the heck of it, I looked at their payment plans. Like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. It's not. It's
Twenty
definitely not.
percent.
It's definitely not worth. Just hover around eBay in about a month or two, and maybe
Right,
some will go
right.
for a better price. Anyway, hey, look, we did it. We got through
Yes.
another episode of Watch Soup on the new live stream channel. Is this the first Watch Soup on the Bobby Legs live stream channel? I
Yeah,
think it is.
I think last week was the last one
That's
on
actually the
your
old channel, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And we got good participation today,
Yeah,
guys. Really
yep.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you
We
so
it
much.
helps us because like last week it was we had 3 people. We had
Yeah,
Sam with us, but
yeah,
yeah, it was so it helps and it makes it a lot more fun and
yeah,
not that it's not fun talking to you, Bobby, but yeah,
yeah,
the engagement it really helps us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, Clayton, hey, what do you got going on this week? Do you have any
I'm gonna try to
fun?
record something this week. I did get last week's Wasu podcast up, so I'll start getting on that again. I know I let that slide there for a
Oh, hey,
bit.
you don't wanna anger Homer, you know what I mean? You wanna
Right,
make sure
right,
that
right.
it's
Yeah, our favorite guy. He's a diehard listener, and
yeah,
yeah, he's been making some moves too. Yeah, added some cool watches here recently. But yeah, so get that podcast out for his train ride into his job into
yeah,
the city.
yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. I'm going to WWE SmackDown this week. I'm excited
Oh,
about
very
that.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very nice, that's
yeah.
great, man. Yeah, no, I don't we don't have any event. I mean, I think we're gonna go see Tool again in January. But yeah, no other events except for just gearing up for Christmas here. Hey, look, guys, thanks again, chat. I really appreciate it. Next week we'll have another episode of Watch Soup. On Tuesday, uh, might have to push our Tuesday night stream to Wednesday because I am going to a Christmas concert. I don't think I'm going to be back. My niece and nephew are performing at a Christmas concert. I don't think I'm going to be back home by 9 o'clock to stream, but maybe I'm not sure. So that's going to be a last minute thing. So if it's not Tuesday night, it'll be Wednesday night. And again, watch Soup next week, guys. Have a great week, Clayton. You have a great week,
You
and
too, buddy.
I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care.
Bye bye. Take care. Have a good